All right, so I finally got this thing. D&D starter set. Now, when it was first announced, most people made positive videos about it. And then when it got released, and people did their reviews or unboxings or whatever, initially there were positive reviews. I've seen some negative reviews, some that confuse me, that that it's, I don't know, somehow subpar, or that it's a board game. These are two different, critiques, I guess. But what people are trying to get across is that somehow this is not a good starter product. Now, the cost is higher, but it has more stuff in it. So I don't think that's a valid thing. I mean, we have had other starter sets that are lower, and they don't have as much stuff, and they don't have as much thought put into them. And maybe there's better adventures in these starter things that, I don't know. I really don't know what to think about what people's problems are with this. It looks like it's well laid out, and yeah, it gives you lots of explanation. And instead of having you make character sheets or having pre-made character sheets, there's these sort of player tableaus or player boards or whatever, and you add cards to it. And that is one of the complaints, is that they won't be able to play D&D because that isn't how D&D works when they get into real D&D. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. The way that most people played D&D is they did it without even having any books. They heard of something called D&D, maybe someone explained a little bit about them, and they did it first. Or they did it however they felt like doing it, however they thought it worked, and it turned out it didn't work that way. So it doesn't really matter. And I think that this is a more simplistic onboarding process, just to see, hey, did you like this? Do you want to continue? And then this little quick start guide is kind of cool, and it lets you sort of jump in, and you don't have to necessarily go through this whole big play guide. Everyone should, because eventually you're going to swap roles, and hopefully it is teaching people how to, at least a little bit about how to be a dungeon master, and people will be inspired to do that, and that's good. And then you have these adventure booklets, and apparently they're not connected. Who cares? It gives you a sample of wilderness stuff, of the keep, of Caves of Chaos. It gives you a little sampling of all the different types of environments you'll be in. And sure, there's apparently a lot of piddling around, not getting into combat and doing other things. And people seem to think that combat is less than. No, combat is actually the best part of the game. So, and it doesn't matter that it takes a long time or whatever. It is the best part of the game. And maybe to other people it's not, and they want to interact with NPCs. That's fine. They can do that too. And this seems to focus on that. And maybe more people feel that way now. And maybe it's, But in any case, this is fine. This is exactly the kind of thing you want to do. And it's railroady. It has to be railroady. And apparently some people also complain that it's a little too sandbox. I'm like, okay. It's just supposed to give you an idea of what is possible. So if it's sandboxy, that's pretty great, because at some point you kind of want people to be sandboxy with their games. And also a little bit railroady. It's a mixture between the two. So you get a flavor for how things can be sandboxy, how things can be railroady, and that there are, possibly unlimited choices based on what the player characters make. But you really should be playing the game that the game master is running, and the game master should be running the game that the people want to play. And if those things don't line up, well, then they shouldn't be playing together. So I don't know. I think that a lot of the complaints about this thing is overdrawn. It's interesting. These cool little handouts. Things that would never show up in starter sets to, I guess, help with immersion. And that's another thing, is people have this need for immersion. It's like, well, you have to work at immersion too. You can't just expect that people are going to hand it to you and make it, easy for you to be immersed. You've got to do stuff, right? You've got to be part of the game. You've got to be playing the game. And these maps, it's pretty great. You can use these in other games once you've learned how to play the game. This is exactly the kind of product that you'd want to get someone who said that, hey, I'm interested in D&D, but I've never played it. I'd like to see how to play it. And, you know, maybe the other simpler ones that don't have as much stuff in them, that are cheaper, you can get those too. But I don't think that there's as much walkthrough on those, right? And yeah, it's not covering every single base. That, you know, it can't. None of these ever can. There's been complaints about the adventures probably since time immemorial, but I mean, I've only really noticed these complaints about adventures since 5th edition, because when I got back into it and I was paying attention to social media and, you know, that kind of stuff, and they're like, oh, it doesn't cover this and you've got to figure it out for yourself. It's like, yeah, that's the game. You've got to figure it out for yourself. If you can't figure out things for yourself, you're probably not going to enjoy the game. That is the best part of the game, is figuring out stuff for yourself. These pre-made adventures are great, but you should be making your own adventures. You should be taking ideas from these things and, you know, taking elements from them, plopping them into something else. I guess I'm on a rant right now, but it just frustrates me when people are just negative for the sake of being negative because they don't like Wizards of the Coast, or they don't like where Dungeons and Dragons has gone, or various different things. I don't care. If this is something that can help people get into the game, that's great. If it has elements in it that you don't like, don't use them. In fact, I don't even think you should be buying a starter set if you already play Dungeons and Dragons. Why? You don't need it at all. Like, I'm opening this, and I'll, you know, I guess if I meet someone who wants to play Dungeons and Dragons and wants to learn how to play, I can probably teach it to them without a starter set. You know, you can basically, those first few videos of Matt Colville is basically what you need to do with the Goblin Temple on the outskirts of town and a couple of rooms and that kind of thing. It'll be 2 hours, and that's how the game goes. Do you like it? Do you want to continue? So yeah, you don't really need starter sets for that. What you need starter sets for is someone who doesn't have anybody who plays Dungeons and Dragons, doesn't have anybody who can teach them how to play Dungeons and Dragons, but they want to get into it with their friends. And I don't know. So this is the player board for the cleric, right? And instead of having the stats, it's got the bonuses. That, I don't know why we need to focus on just the bonuses. This seems to be a design element that people think is positive. I don't. I like having the stats and the bonus. I don't see how that confuses anybody, but hey, it's not bad, right? It's not wrong to do this. It's just, I don't see the need. And there's 2 different types of each of the class, and then you modularly add in things as you level up. And let's see, there's a fighter, right? 2 fighters, 2 rogues, and you basically have your bases covered of the different, did I just jostle that camera here? That cover the different aspects of the game so that it's a good party, right? So instead of getting you all to make characters and you've never played the game before and you don't know necessarily that you each need to have a role that works well, they've done it for you. Now, I don't know why you need these many gold pieces, but whatever. I guess people like that. I mean, how much does that really cost? So it doesn't really matter whether that's included or not. And then there's all these monster tokens. That's pretty good. Because that was one of the things, like, when we first started playing, it would be on a graph paper, and we'd have to, like, you know, do a little tiny thing that represents goblins or orcs or whatever. These hit point tokens, I mean, I guess it's part of the modular board, but yeah, you probably won't ever use those again, but you didn't pay a lot for that, so don't worry about it. This is just a blank sheet of paper. Everyone needs a blank sheet of paper. The dice. Basic dice, but hey, if you watch any of my videos with dice, or I guess I mentioned in other videos, it has 4d6. That's amazing. And, I mean, it's got, often the dice sets have 2d10, so that's cool. And it's got 2d20 for both, the positive thing and the negative thing. What was it? Advantage, disadvantage. So that's a good dice set. That's a really good dice set. I mean, it's basic plastic. It's not like fancy or anything like that. It's very cheap. At least it's not the speckled kind or the unbalanced kind or whatever. Or trying to look fancier than it is. Then you got all these cards here that explain everything. And now, I don't know if these modular boards are better design or better UI for people getting into the game. But hey, why not try it and see how it works? They already made those cards with 5th edition. They just didn't make a modular board, right? Everyone liked those cards. Those things sold out really quick and everyone used them. So these are all NPCs, it looks like. And then, okay, so these are NPCs, and then these, you gotta have ball bearings. Antitoxin? I didn't even know that was a possibility. Acid, I understand that, okay. So anyway, those are items. These are NPCs, so let's see what they got in the NPCs. It just gives you a flavor of, you know, basically what this person is like. And then you go from there. Doesn't need a lot, right? This can really jumpstart someone's creativity and imagination. And that's what the game is supposed to do. So that's the NPCs. I don't need to look at the equipment. It probably gives you all their stats. Let's see. We'll look at the back on one of them. What is this? A lantern. Tells you what the lantern does. It has the description. I'm sure that the armor gives you the AC and that kind of stuff. And longsword, let's see. So, yeah, it gives you 1d10 versatile. Yeah, it gives you everything, the stats that you need on all the items. That's pretty great. So, I find it still kind of ridiculous. Oh, that isn't where that goes. That people are having a problem with this. I mean, it's expensive, more expensive than other star sets, but you get more. And so therefore, someone has to make a choice. Do you want to spend more on this starter set where you get more? And again, there's no starter set where you're actually playing D&D, right? You don't actually start playing D&D until several sessions in, right? No one's the best at it when they start. Oh, these are different backgrounds. Okay, good. That's cool. And then these are the races. So you choose your own race for your class, all right? That's good. It gives you the little bonuses that you get for those things. And then, again, magical items this time. I don't know why you need these many magic items, because, I mean, I assume this is level 1 to 3, or maybe level 1 to 5, but again, maybe there's more magical items in this, just to give people an enjoyment, because people like getting magical items, although you can just give them gems, too. People like getting gems and gold. Combat tracker. This probably cost like $1.50 to make, and probably added... Nah, it probably costs less than that. It probably costs like 20 cents to make. It probably added maybe 50 cents to $1 to the cost. I don't know if this is useful. I've never needed to do this. People just write on their character sheets, but again, you're doing the boards. Okay. And what's in here? This is just a piece of cardboard. Oh, these are bigger cards. Oversized cards. And what is this? Oh, these are the cards for the creatures. Okay. These give you information on how to run combat. It's harder to get these off when it's a long thing. All right, so let's see what the stuff in the back is first. These are animated flying sword. Oh, so these are the pictures. Oh, the pictures of the monsters are on the back here, right? That's good. It gives you art. Man, they spent a lot of money on art. I mean, this could just be part of their slush pile, and that's fine too, but still, they did go out of their way to do that. And then you have the stats for the monsters on the front. That's what you need. And it's pretty great. So even after these adventures, you kind of lay a basis for what you did. You either continue from there using your own homebrew ideas, or you completely abandon that and start over again, and this time make character sheets on D&D Beyond, and you print them out, and you can still use this stuff. You can still use this stuff. The dice are still usable. Most of these tokens here are still extremely useful afterwards, and those maps. I just don't. I mean, I understand if someone's like, oh yeah, we don't necessarily need this. Maybe they could not use this, or maybe this was done better in this thing. But the tone of the critical, not all the time, not in every single one. Just there's people that have this tone of, oh, this is terrible. Look at how bad Wizard of the Coast is. Blah blah blah. We've always been saying how bad Wizard of the Coast is. Blah, 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 blah. Again, they're doing some dumb things that I don't particularly like either, and so I just don't incorporate those things in my game. And if they put out materials that I think are useful, that I am going to buy, then that's what I'll do. And that's what other consumers will do too. And if they put out stuff and you think that it's only bad and that you only want the old stuff, well, you got the old stuff, so that's wonderful. And you don't ever need to engage with Wizard of the Coast, and you can be satisfied that you don't have to. So anyway, that's basically what I did. I guess we could look at the back here. Let's see. Open and play entry in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Heroes of the Borderlands cooperative fantasy adventure for all levels. Each game, one player acts as dungeon master while others act as heroes in an ever-evolving story. Together, you delve into monster-filled caves, explore untamed forests, and determine the fate of the Borderlands. Set up play in minutes, go on epic adventures, choose your way to play, and all in one box. Maybe it's a bit overstated, but it is a very heavy and very useful starter set. In many aspects, it's very useful. Like I said, the tokens, the cards, the dice, that can be used afterwards, and the shifting of roles, which they've never done before, that has the potential to do pretty awesome things. Now, could they have made better adventures? I'm probably sure they could, but I don't consider any pre-made adventure to be good. I mean, I played some of what was one of the most celebrated ones. What's it? Was it the heist, Waterdeep heist, or whatever the hell that is? And it's not good. Homemade adventures are always better, in my opinion. So you're never going to get a homemade starter set. So this is what you get. And maybe Fendelver was better. Maybe it was more a mini campaign, but it was doing something different than what this is doing, and it was very basic. And I wouldn't suggest that, that anyone who was already playing Dungeons & Dragons would play Phandelver, no matter how good you thought the story was. You just make your own game. Anyway, we get contents here. Quick start guide, play guide, 3 adventure booklets, 9 double-sided poster maps, 5 handouts, combat tracker, 8 character class boards, 210 cards for characters, items, monsters, NPCs, and spells, 273 tokens for monsters, terrain, and resources, 11 game dice. That's great. It's 12 plus instead of 13 plus. I always thought it was 13 plus. Anyway, let me know what you think in the game, in the comments below. And let me know how I'm wrong about everything, and that this is terrible, and that you hate Wizards of the Coast. Or, is it possible? Maybe some other people might think like me and say, this is a pretty great set, and I would recommend this to someone who's just starting Dungeons & Dragons. Let me know in the comments below. Have a good day.